This video is going to cover how to set up your microscope. So I'll go over everything from taking your microscope out of the box to putting all the pieces together so that it is ready to use. And then in the next video, I'll go over how to actually use your microscope.
So I'd like to point out first, before you open up your microscope any further, that try to remove any liquids, food, and work away from children and pets. Accidents happen if we have liquids and foods, and definitely with young kids and even pets that might jump on something and spill something near where you're working. So try to work in a safe place where you won't have something that can damage your microscope while you're working.
So step one of using your microscope is to remove your microscope from the box. And to do this, you will want to start by placing your box on a flat surface. Okay, so when you get your microscope, you should have a box like this from the LRC. And the first thing I'm going to go over is how to get your microscope out of the box safely. Make sure that you don't drop anything while you're taking it out. So inside the box here, if you'll notice, are two indentations in the styrofoam. And so what you'll do is you'll grab those indentations in the styrofoam, and then you will gently lift your microscope out. You kind of want to be pushing in the two sides of the styrofoam as you lift, because the styrofoam is not taped together. It has tape around it most likely, but it's not taped together. So once you get it out of the box, you've lifted it, push the two sides here and here on these two sides, push those together to make sure that your microscope is, the two pieces of the styrofoam are being pushed together. So it does have an up side to tell you which side is up, but you'll pull that out here and then move your microscope to a safe working location, flat surface where you can work. So our next step is to remove your microscope from the styrofoam casing. And again, make sure that you've placed your box on a flat, safe surface. So now notice the up sticker on the side of your styrofoam, and you are going to turn your box so that the up sticker is facing up. So you'll again put some gentle pressure on the two sides to hold them together. Turn it over. You now have the up side sticker facing up. So our next step is to remove the cord from the top of your lid and then to remove the lid. So if you look at the top of the lid, there's a flap here and your cords are located under there. There should be two cords there. So you'll pull those aside and set those aside. We'll use those in just a minute. Then you have all of your microscope pieces in the rest of the styrofoam base there. So the next thing that you're going to do is grab your microscope by the base and by the arm, carefully lift it out of the box, and holding the base and the arm, turn it right side up very carefully. And then you'll set it on your flat working surface. The next thing that you'll do is locate the screw on the side of your microscope, and you're going to make sure that if the screw is up into the base there, that you lower it down until it's level with the metal ring, and that's going to allow the next piece to sit inside of that piece. So our next step is we're going to attach the viewing head onto the microscope base. And so if you notice the ring there, that's going to set into the top of the microscope by that screw that you just loosened up. And so you'll set the viewing head onto the base and then tighten the locking screw until it is snug. So the viewing head should now be securely attached to your microscope base. Now you're going to find the eyepieces, and you will go to the more narrow end and set the narrow end into the viewing head there. So just set the one circular end into the other, and then grab the other eyepiece. It might be located just under that camera there. Grab the other eyepiece, again take the smaller end and place it into the viewing head. Next, you're going to grab the camera attachment piece, and this is going to attach the camera to the microscope. You can see the grooves on the side there, and you will place those into the grooves on the top of the viewing head. and you will just screw that in. It should screw nicely in. If it doesn't screw nicely in, then you might not have the grooves lined up properly, so realign it and screw that until it's just nicely snug. Okay, so the next step here is really important. So what you want to do is look at your camera cord, and it looks like this on one end, and it looks like a USB plug on the other end. So you want to look at that cord and notice that the top side here is more square, and the bottom side here, when I'm holding the cord up, is angled in. And you're going to be attaching that to the camera, which is this piece here. And the camera, you can notice where the plug will insert looks the same. So square on one side, angled on the bottom. And you want to make sure that you match the angled end up with the angled end and the square end up with the square end when you put those two together. If you do it backwards, I've been told that that will break your camera very easily, that's a really delicate piece. And so we'd hate to break your camera before you even get to using it. So if you see here in the video, here is your camera cord, the square end and the angled end. And then look at your camera here, and you can say the same pieces, the square end there on the top, the angled end on the bottom. And so you'll just put those two pieces together, making sure that they're lined up properly. And you have to give it a little bit of a push there to get it in. Once that's done, then you are ready to attach your camera to your microscope. Okay, so then you're ready to put your camera on top of the microscope, and you'll push that. It goes pretty easily at first, then you have to give it a little bit more snug of a push there at the bottom, and then you'll take your USB cord and plug that into your computer, and that will allow your computer to see whatever your microscope is seeing. So instead of having to even look through the eyepieces of the microscope, you can see it right there on your computer, which is pretty neat, and take pictures and keep them on your computer. Next, you'll grab your power plug, and these are what the two ends of that look like. And then you'll plug your power plug into the back of your microscope on one end and push that in firmly, and then take your other end and plug that into your wall outlet. Your microscope is now set up and ready to use, and we'll go over how to use the microscope in the next video.